So we're now in the last lesson of 8 points of module 8. So we're going to do 8.6 and go into operations with radical expressions. So in this particular one now we have a couple things that we have to do. Number one is that we are going to add and subtract radical expressions. So what I mean by that is, we add like 3 square root of 2 plus 7 square root of 2, something like that. And we're going to see how to do that. What's important is that it follows the same rules as we have with variables. We are going to combine like terms. So we have combining like terms in here. So notice when we do this, this is our expression. We look for like terms. Notice we have 2x and 4x. We're going to combine those together to get 6x. We have 4y minus 2y. We combine those together to get plus 2y. And then we have minus 3x squared plus 5x squared. We get plus 2x squared. So we combine like terms when we're dealing with variables. They have to be exactly the same. So we can't combine a 2x with a negative 3x squared because that's an x squared term. Same thing with radicals. So on this first example, we have 7 square root of 5 plus 4 square root of 5. Our first check is to make sure the radicals are exactly the same. So if this was a square root and this were a cube root, we couldn't do it. If this were a 5 and this were a 6, we couldn't do it. But in this case, they both are the same. So then we just add up the numbers, just like we did with the 2x and the 4x. We add up those numbers and we get 11 square root of 5. Notice, of course, the x didn't change. It just stayed the same, just like the radical does here. Okay, we get to one that's a little more complicated. Notice that right away, we look at the two radicals. You might say they can't be combined. But unfortunately, what we have to do is we have to simplify these. So we want to simplify both of those. And we want to convert them down to the lowest factors that we possibly can. So of course, 50 is just 25 times 2. 25 is 5 times 5. And now we have our prime numbers, 5, 5, and 2. So we have 3 square root of 5 times 5 times 2 minus, and now we're going to do the same thing on this side. I have 16 times 2. I can break down 16 into 4 times 4. Now I could break down the 4 times 4 into multiple values, but I already have a pair there. So because I have a pair there, I'm going to just write it as 4 times 4 times 2. So we have that 4 times 4 and that 2 that's there. And now for every pair, I can take one out. So I cancel out the pair. I get 3 times 5 because I took it out of the square root. And I have the square root of 2 left inside. On this other side, I can cancel out the 4s. So I have 3 times 4 square root of 2. So that gives me 15 square root of 2 minus 12 square root of 2. I now have the same exact square roots. So 15 minus 12 is 3. So that would be 3 square root of 2. And that would be my final answer. So hopefully that makes sense for adding and subtracting. The next thing we're going to get into is multiplication, which we already did in the last section, but we're going to see it being more formalized here in this section.